I want to start by taking a trip down memory lane. You were a student at the University of Auckland's law school. What was life back then? What do you remember? What do you cherish?
Well, I remember hard work. I was probably one of the only students that liked 8 o'clock lectures because I then had to scurry off to my job.
Right.
I enjoyed my time at law school. I left halfway through because I decided that I didn't want to do law. And I got a really good job in a public relations firm doing financial PR. And I got really tired after a year of saying to clients, to earn my credibility, I have 3/4 of a law degree. I thought to myself one day, how many years are you going to say that? And decided I'd better go back and finish my final year. I got A's or A pluses in all of those last papers. I ended up with a senior law prize, which I found really ironic given that I didn't want to do law.
So you sound like a model student. I wish we had more students like you today.
Well, I'm not sure about that. I didn't always start off with A's. I'm pretty sure I failed it. In fact, I know I failed a couple of papers too. I heard Claudia Batten speak a few years ago, and I loved her description that she was a squiggler. And a squiggler describes the squiggly line of some people's careers. And I'm definitely a squiggler. And I actually think that very few people fall into doing what they love first off. And I think that we need to encourage more squiggling. And I think that's a good university's job as well, because the more that we squiggle, the more experiences that we gather, and I think the more rounded it makes us, and hopefully the more it means that we're more likely to do the work we love. And ultimately, I think that's the most important thing.
I want to talk about the Northern Club a little bit. A very old club, they call it the Male Bastion. The first female member was admitted in 1990. What changed?
The committee at the time recognised that they needed to stay relevant. And there were members who were saying that they were going to have to resign their membership because their female peers were unable to enjoy the membership of the club or even come into the club. So if they wanted to have lunch with the partners, there was an awkwardness for the women feeling that they were excluded. So the club recognised that they needed to stay relevant, and to quote the words of one of the committee, the club needed to stand tall again. And so they made the decision. We had a Governor-General designate at the time who was a woman. There was a couple of women who were QCs. There were more women partners than we'd seen for a while. We had some more women on boards. The 1990s were a period of change. And thankfully, the Northern Club recognised that and made the changes to their constitution.
So that was leadership?
Yes.
And you still only have, I think, about 15%?
A little less than that, 13%.
Female.
I'm fascinated at why, despite endless encouraging, so many women aren't joining clubs, or the Northern Club in particular. And I realised that men tend to have the habit of joining a club. They join the cricket club, the rugby club, the tennis club, or the squash club, and women are less practised at that. I think that's changing with things like gym memberships. But back when I joined the club in 1997, it wasn't something that a lot of women did. And so I think we need to encourage that a little more. And I think too, we have to show women why it matters and the benefits that they will get from it, because belonging to a club like the Northern Club has got so many benefits. That's why so many men belong to it.
We know that New Zealand was one of the first nations, really, where women had the power to vote. How are we doing today on the world stage? Can we learn from other countries? Can we teach other countries? Can we lead?
Yes, it's wonderful that New Zealand was so courageous back 125 years ago to give women the vote. Have we continued that great progress? I'm not so sure. When I see discussions around whether there are enough women at the table, and when I hear people dismissing the suggestion of quotas, I used to disagree with quotas, but I'm now forming a view that the change is taking so long that perhaps we do need to force the change. And if we are serious about having as many women in roles as we have men, then perhaps a quota is the only way of doing it, because giving people the choice to do that hasn't worked. I feel very strongly that if you want innovation, then you have to have women at the table. And there's loads of research by Boston Consulting and McKinsey on what they call the innovation contribution that having women and a bit more diversity at the board table bring. And it's really important that there's not just one woman at the board table or in the leadership teams. And there's some really interesting stats that are showing the difference that women and diversity quotient is making to the profitability of those companies.
So what is your advice for young women out there?
I say to everybody, take every opportunity. Keep saying yes, because you don't know where it will take you.